Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing, nonprofit, educational, or personal use, tips a balance in favor of fair use. Exclusive. Ex-Scientologist 27 tells how she racked up $40,000 in debt for church services, was forced to have two abortions, was told SA she suffered was her fault, and finally escaped with a stranger she met on Reddit. I'm going to start keeping a log of all the women and or children that were SA'd in Scientology that I'm aware of, because there's a lot of them. Bree Mood, 27, left the Church of Scientology just 4 months ago. She sat down with Daily Mail TV to describe her 20 years in the church. In October, she fled from California to Minnesota with the help of a stranger she met on Reddit. Bree joined at age 7 with her brother when her mother married a Scientologist. I love how they word that. Like a 7-year-old's going to join a cult, right? She had worked for the organization since she was 15. Oh, you see how they made that real smooth there? And ran up more than $40,000 of debt for the church services. Bree claims she was made to have two bleep after getting pregnant with her husband's child. The couple were members of an elite clergy. I love how they keep putting all these religious terms in there. It's a joke. Called the Sea Org, where you are expected to terminate your pregnancy in order to remain in the group. But they can recruit children from all over the world. I don't get it. After suffering SA by a family member for years, inquiring minds want to know. I'll bet the executives knew. Bree said she was connived to her mother when she was 8, but was told it was her own fault. So she's getting SA'd at 8 years old, and then told that she pulled it in. Hey, it doesn't stop there, you guys. You know what continues? The child gets SA'd, usually repeatedly. Finally, they break down in auditing sessions, which are interrogations. Or the perpetrator does, because that's what they are, they're perpetrators. Scientology management covers it up, tells the child it is his or her fault, and then goes on to punish the child. Yeah. That's what LAPD is standing up for right now. Aren't they wonderful? She called her mother's response one of the most extreme examples of how toxic Scientology is. I got some other words. Hold on, I got to get a sip of my tea. The Church of Scientology has denied Mood's claims. Don't they always? It must just be a figment of everyone's imagination. All these children continually SA'd. Management knows about it, covers it up. Parents know about it, cover it up. Then continue to blame the child, because of course it's the child's fault. Police cover it up. The FBI doesn't do anything. Nobody helps. Article done by Laura Collins, chief investigative reporter in Minneapolis and Wisconsin. It's my home state. Chris White for dailymail.com. Well, you guys take all this with a grain of salt. You see how they try to color everything? Dated 26 February 2019. Scientology is a prison of beliefs. I've heard that many times. More like a similar to North Korea mind control. Based on a toxic worldview in which pregnant Sea Org members are isolated, punished, and pushed into having abortions. And also, too, a lot of these women were SA'd, became pregnant, and then more assault. You guys read between the lines there. And victims of SA are blamed for their suffering. These are just some of the claims made today by a former member of Scientology's elite, I'm not even saying it, it makes one to barf, elite Sea Org, who fled the church just 4 months ago. She needs to know about SBTV. It's just acting up, guys. Hold on. There's so many ads, it's just acting weird. In an exclusive interview with Daily Mail TV, Bree Mood, 27, is told how she was indoctrinated into the church at the age of 7 and worked for the organization for more than a decade. You guys see how they blew over all that stuff? So there was no child labor when she was 7? During that time, she ran up more than $40,000 of debt for church services, had 2, I'm sure that was forced, abortions, under duress, endured hard labor for the crime of wanting to keep her baby. Oh, also, you guys, just so everybody knows, a lot of the women that become with child, if they fight against they don't want to have the abortion, they put them into manual labor trying to force them to. So all these fucking executives that are running around trying to put their nose in the air acting like they're so wonderful, they knew about this. Who do you think gave the orders? Just like in Germany, the same kind of stuff, you guys. Now she is told how she finally escaped her former life and traveled almost 2,000 miles from California to Minnesota with the help of a stranger she met on Reddit. Bria Mood, 27, left the Church of Scientology. Okay, sorry guys, I'm reading the... Then they have another picture here. Bria's Scientology ID from the Sea organization shows she used Bina as her name rather than Brie and Greason, which was her married name. You guys all know, this just hit me. That's so they're like somewhat untraceable. That's a crime too as well, isn't it? I don't know what crime that is, but there's something, I'm going to look it up. We probably can't prove it because it's Scientology identification, but you all know. That goes with all the trafficking stuff. So she gets SA'd. Do you imagine how much trauma this woman has? She gets SA'd repeatedly as an 8-year-old girl. Scientology management doesn't help her. These are the people that are the ones that are being real funny right now. They were involved in this. So this 8-year-old girl gets continually SA'd by a family member, because of course we can't put his fucking name out here, can we? Then, and I told, I don't want to repeat it over and over, but again, it's the same story, gets blamed, punished that it was her fault. That wasn't enough for her. Then she was forced to terminate the 2 times in duress. She didn't really want to do it. Can you guys see and imagine why there's so much SA going on? I think in the perfect world, which we know we're not in, she should be able to sue Scientology for millions of dollars for what happened to her. And it's about time that the tables start to turn for these victims. It's enough already. Her parents didn't help her. The Scientology management didn't help her. They, in fact, covered it up, blamed her, and who knows where the perpetrator is. They probably promoted him, because that's usually what they do. Just gets me so sick. Bree said there are people whose lives have been ruined financially because they donated so much money to Scientology. Yeah, they want their money back, Scientology. But there are people who didn't donate because they're really poor, probably, I don't know, and just grew up within a toxic world, view that you were responsible for every bad thing that's ever happened to you in your life. That's almost as dangerous as the financial aspect. It's the way people remain trapped. I worked for the church from when I was 15 until 27. 4 months ago, and I was miserable the entire time. I was suicidal multiple times, and I stayed with it as long as I did because I truly believed that if I was unhappy, it was because I did something wrong. And leaving the church wouldn't fix that because I'm the problem. See, that's how they make people stay, you see? I wonder if she was in the blue building. Today, Bree shakes her head at just how entrenched those feelings were. She entered the church at the age of 7 when her mother entered the church when she was 7. That means her mother turned her over. Get it freaking right. The mother was divorced from her biological father, who's obviously a loser. Her mother married a church member and started working for the local Scientology church in their home in San Fernando Valley. She and her younger brother, Nishan, saw their father on weekends. Oh, isn't that wonderful? While she was being SA'd, her father, he took out 2 days of the week to see him. While her father struggled to find jobs, it happens, home with her mother and stepfather was relatively stable. Keep that in mind, you guys. Put a checkpoint. Because I'm wondering what family member SA'd her. According to Bree, it was easy for her mother to paint her father as the crazy one. Sounding like a narc to me. I don't know her mom. She said, my mom and stepdad were constantly giving to the church. They cashed in my stepdad's 401k. We never had a college funds or anything like that. Bree attended a local elementary school but switched to a Scientology middle school. Names. She said that really when I went into the bubble. You see how they keep people in there? Her teenage years were defined by Scientology services such as auditing, isn't it convenient that they didn't have her auditing when she was 7? A sort of primitive talk therapy interrogation. There's no talk therapy there. In which the recipient lists all their transgressions in a bid to reach a higher level of consciousness. It's blackmail material. As time spent at the church where her mother worked for little pay as a chaplain. Of course. You guys know who else was a so-called Scientology chaplain? David Miscavige's wife, or not wife, but David Miscavige's twin sister, which I didn't even know he had one. And there was some real weird stuff that went on with one of the I can't remember the name right now. One of the oddball deaths, and David Miscavige's sister was all the way involved with it, allegedly. She graduated school at 15 and immediately went to work for the church in its equivalent of human resources. And then they have some pictures here. I don't know what ethnic background they have, but with the names, like they're from somewhere else, I believe. Of course, right? Because her brother's name is Nishan. She doesn't live too far from where I'm at here. And then under one of the pictures, Bree's mother, stepfather, and brother have entirely disconnected from her since she fled from the church, like all of them do. She's pictured in a baby photo. Okay. Scientologists believe that we have all lived many past lives and are really millions of years old. Children are not children. They are simply ancient beings housed in small bodies. LAPD, did you hear that? She said I was responsible for making sure parishioners... Don't you guys love all these church words? It's almost like we're playing make-believe or something. Got their ethics handling. At 15 years old, she was doing that. You hear how a search talks about that all the time? So you'd have people coming in and they'd be chronically late for work, and I'd have to sit them down and have them work out their life and schedules. For Bree, it was embarrassing and stressful. That sounds like they brushed over something there, doesn't it? She felt out of her depth, but any unhappiness she put down to her own feelings because that is what she had been brought up to believe. What a great mom, eh? She had. Nowhere was the culture of self-blame more extreme than in her own experience when at the age of 8, she told her mother she had been essayed, molested by a family member. Names, names, names. We're going to start putting these names out. It's public information. She recalled he pretty intensely molested me over a period of 4 or 5 years. And when I came forward and told my mom about it, oh, I can't wait for this. She immediately took me upstairs and sat me down and had me write down every single time it happened and what I had done to be responsible to cause it. You see, you guys, that's why some of these people in Scientology just need to drop the fuck dead. Today, Bree views that as probably one of the most extreme examples of how toxic Scientology is. No, how her mother is. Because I believe a lot of Scientology mothers, they wouldn't have allowed that. They would have said, I'm out of here. I really believe that. I don't think all Scientologists are bad. And so she suppressed her unhappiness and threw herself into working long hours for as little as $20 a week. Bree was 17 when she met Eric, a fellow Scientologist, 3 years her senior and a member of her local church cult. She said within a few months we were engaged. We were engaged for like 3 years because we both worked full-time for the church, so we still lived with our parents. Eric cut his church hours to take on a second job in a bid to earn enough to move into an apartment of their own. So they must have been public. I think that's public Scientologists. I'm still confused as to staff versus public. I don't really understand the difference. But Bree had doubts about the relationship. She said, I was just desperately unhappy. But it wasn't as simple as saying, I'm going to leave, either the relationship or the job. It was, if working here makes me desperately unhappy, I must be doing bad things if I commit more. Maybe I can turn it around. It sounds like a slave system. I was already working long hours for less pay than Sea Org members make. Looking back, it seems perverse to her, but Bree saw joining the Sea Org as an escape route from both her state of penury, and her relationship. She knew that Eric was desperate to have children and that being a Sea Org member prohibited that. She said he wanted kids really badly, and I had already brought up the subject multiple times and knew he wouldn't join with me. There's a lot of complex emotions. It's not something I've really been able to unravel fully for myself at this point, because looking at it logically, it doesn't make any sense. Another factor in Bree's thinking was that she owed upwards of $40,000 for Scientology services that are free if you work for the church, but must be paid back if you break your contract. That's free. That's the freeloader debt that actually doesn't exist. I wish all Scientologists and, well, a lot of ex-Scientologists understand, but a Scientologist and ex-Scientologist, freeloader debt is not illegal. They can't hold you to it legally. And trust me, you're going to pay your freeloader's debt. You're going to do all the routing out, all the bullshit they make you go through. And guess what? They're still going to declare you an SP. So just walk out. Like Tori Magoo says. Tori Chrisman, walk out, leave. She said, so I signed the billion-year Sea Org contract, came home and told him we had a screaming fight that lasted 2 or 3 days, and finally I broke off the engagement and gave him back the ring. I said, best of luck to you, I'm going into the Sea Org. Go live your life, go have kids with someone else. A day or so later, Eric came back and made what seemed to 20-year-old Bree a grand romantic gesture straight out of the movies. He said, thank you for making me confront the fact that I actually do want to join the Sea Org, and I want to do it with you. Then she shares these text messages that she sent to her mother. Man, her mother needs to just go off somewhere. So one of the text messages to her mother, who is this? Then Bree says, hi, Mom. Can we talk? As far as I know, I'm not declared. Mother bitch. Why are you calling me? You're my mom. I love you. I wanted to talk things over. I know I hurt you when I blew, and I'm sorry for that. I'm doing much better now, and I wanted to reach out. I still want to have a relationship with you no matter what. I love you, and I want you in my life. I want you to be a part of my life. Mom, we'll come home then and route out properly. See, the Scientologists don't understand that routing out, they screw you in the end anyways. I'm not going to do that. I tried to route out in the past, and I wasn't allowed to because of my marriage to Eric. I'm happy now for the first time in years, and I won't put myself in a position to be under, excuse me. Excuse me. And I won't put myself in a position to be under someone else's control again. Please understand that I never wanted to hurt you or punish you, and I'd love to be able to stay part of the family, but I'm not a Scientologist any longer. Hold on, guys. Bree says, I respect your beliefs and choices and won't malign them. Please respect mine. Then she sends another text. Mom? Then, Mother Nasty. Nobody said you have to be a Scientologist, but face up to the damage you created and we can be friends. Come and route out properly. Anyways, there's some more there. Then Bree says, I don't want a friend. I want my mom. I am not coming back. See how manipulative this is? Then Mom replies, that's how you get your mom back. Narcissist. Bree replies, that sucks. If you change your mind, I'll be here. Mind you, her mother didn't do anything when the SA happened. Help cover it up, so you guys know what I think. They married at the courthouse, signed up, and a few days later, Eric was sent to Florida for years of training. Bree moved on to the church's LA base known as Big Blue. Oh, so she was in Big Blue. And just accepted that communicating with her new husband by email a couple times a week and telephone once a week was normal. So that's the only way they get away with this, is that because they're all so isolated and this is all they know, they don't know any different. Certainly she could not voice any discontent or unhappiness, she said, for fear of repercussions. That could be anything from a stern talking to, like ethics handling, to docked meal breaks. You guys hear that? Not allowing them to eat. Or some menial labor such as scrubbing pots and pans. But when Eric returned to LA, it was not a happy reunion. How could it be when they had married so young? She reflected and were so unable to communicate with each other. Perhaps the starkest example of this came when Bree discovered that she was pregnant in March 2015. She said it was an accident. I was on birth control. The reality is that in the Sea Org, if anyone gets pregnant, they're expected to get an abortion immediately. I don't know, you guys. I get Moloch vibes here. Not by her, just like overall. The church has always vehemently denied allegations of forced abortions. Yeah, because it's illegal to do that, I believe. But Bree explained, let's talk about peer pressure. In the real world, that manifests with alcohol, cigarettes, sleeping around, or not sleeping around. If you're a very dedicated Christian and you get caught having premarital sex, you're going to get shunned. You're going to get ostracized. People are going to talk about you behind your back. You're going to get judged. You're going to lose friends. You'll have this label. It's very similar. That's so sad. I remember when Claire Headley talked about what happened with her. It's awful. If you get pregnant in the Sea Org, the expectation is that you will terminate it and remain in the Sea Org. The alternative is to keep the baby, pull your husband out of the Sea Org, and go raise a child with no job skills or life experience or anything. That's another one of their controls right there. And be ostracized from all of Scientology and live life as a failure. It wasn't even something she felt she could discuss with her husband because to do so would be tantamount to discussing leaving, a crime in the church's eyes. They sure do have a lot of crimes, don't they? Control, control. Bree said, you actually get declared suppressive for that. Instead, when she told Eric it was to say, I'm pregnant. I'm having an abortion. I already took the pill. Don't talk to me for 2 days. Just let me do this. Wow. They never talked about it again. Then that October, Bria began experiencing morning sickness. She tried to pass it off as flu, but eventually she took a test that confirmed her fears. She said the same as last time. I went to my boss and said I'm pregnant again. I effed up. It's my bag. I'll get it taken care of. Wow, that's sad. I got mixed feelings, but I'm not gonna voice them here. Bria's best friend was getting married that weekend. She was to be maid of honor, but when she mentioned this to her boss, she was told, no, you're not allowed to go to the wedding because you're pregnant. It wouldn't be appropriate. Can you believe they shame women for being pregnant? Sick. Her best friend, who by then knew Bria's situation, never spoke to her again. Wow. She said, I have a streak in me, which is very stubborn, and I object to injustice and unfairness. Bria got the pill but didn't take it. 2 days later, she said she emerged and said it didn't work and that she was keeping the baby. She claims I was immediately ostracized and put in isolation. I wonder if Rinder knew anything about those kinds of things. Big fucking mystery, isn't it? She claims I was immediately ostracized and put in isolation. They moved Eric out of our room in the middle of the day. See what they do? Some of these folks don't need to be saved. I'm sorry. Out of our room in the middle of the day without telling me. I came home that night and all his stuff was gone. I don't really understand why they would. Like, she did what they wanted them to do. Why are they separating the couple? She and Eric had no communication for 2 weeks. When they did, she said, he did not talk me into getting an abortion. Okay, now I get it. I forgot. Now I'm getting it. It's sick. This is sick. He still badly wanted kids. He badly wanted to stay in the Sea Org. He was just in pain. And so he just said, I'll support you, whatever you decide. Wow, this is sick, man. Suffering from terrible morning sickness, Bria was subjected to daily security checks. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. I got a little distracted. There's a police report. I'll come back to it. She's got a bunch of police reports she's showing here. I don't know where this is, though. It's in California, but New Hope Police Department.